You're watching Beyond the Whistle, brought to you by NCTV.
Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Matt Schlegel here for NCTV with my partner and colleague Scotty Luntz. We're going to recap Monday night's National College Football Championship, an amazing game between Alabama and Clemson, and we're going to get into the NFL Divisional Round playoffs. So first, Scotty, we're going to talk about Monday night. What a game it was. Alabama versus Clemson came down to the final play. It's really what college football is all about. What are your thoughts on that one?
Absolutely. Unfortunate for you, Matt. I'm sorry about that Alabama loss. But Deshaun Watson, we talked about it in our last episode. Big players come up in big games, and he showed up for Clemson. He came into this game with a chip on his shoulder after losing last year, and if they had gone 0-2 against Alabama in 2 straight years, there would have been a lot of concerns about him. People would have said maybe he should stay for a senior year. But now he comes into the offseason. He'll have a high ranking for the NFL draft, probably going to be a top 10 pick. The Clemson team as a whole played very well. Mike Williams, as the main receiver, played really well, and that offense just shined.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Deshaun Watson. I think yesterday what we saw from Deshaun Watson, he made himself so much money yesterday because you said, I think he's got to go top 10 right now. What he did yesterday against the Alabama offense, that defense, he threw for 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and ran for a touchdown. Against that defense, how well they've played this year under Nick Saban, it's unbelievable. I did not see that coming in a million years. I thought if they were somehow going to win, they would maybe squeak out a score of 17-14. Alabama's offense impressed me. O.J. Howard had the big touchdown at the end of the game. But Deshaun Watson played like a true franchise NFL quarterback in that game, and I think we really have to reevaluate him. And more than anything, what he did, Dabo Swinney and Clemson, they're a top-tier football program at this point because they had always been a team who can compete and be in at the end of the year. They never won the big one, and going up against Nick Saban, really the guy who runs college football in this day and age against Alabama, the powerhouse, trying to win back-to-back titles. Dabo Swinney put Clemson on the map for years to come. Recruits are going to come in now, money, the fans. It's just a whole different atmosphere, and we have a new elite program in college football. So quick recap there. We're going to now get into the NFL playoffs. Scotty, we're going to talk first Cowboys-Packers. Packers beat the Giants in Lambeau by a big score, and they're going to head up to Dallas where Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott have the first seed in the NFC. They had a 13-3 record. Who do you take in that game and why?
I think we can all agree this Packers team is much different than when they played at Lambeau against the Cowboys. And I'm going to still take the Dallas Cowboys in this one. Although Aaron Rodgers is going to come up and he will be the reason the Packers win, if they do win, I don't think they'll be able to pull it off. This Cowboys offense is too dynamic, and the Packers defense has taken too many injuries and too many hurts over the last season. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to run all over the Packers. I think Dak Prescott will use his legs to make plays and get his receivers open. Look out for Dez Bryant to be a huge performer in this game.
You brought up Ezekiel Elliott. You think he's going to have a big day. I think for the first time really all year, I question how well Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott are going to play because never really has there been a time where a team is so reliant on 2 rookies, 2 guys who have never been to the playoffs, have never even come close to an atmosphere like this in the NFL where things are so different from college and high school. And I just question, Aaron Rodgers coming to town as hot as Green Bay is. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these games mentally, and I think this could be the game where one of the two, whether it's Dak or Zeke, one of them could slip up. As good as they've been this year, I think the mental aspect of the game could get to them. That being said, Sean Lee and the defense, I questioned them early in the year. They've played pretty well. I don't know how well they're going to play against Aaron Rodgers. He is playing like himself. I think Aaron Rodgers, I have always said he's a bit overrated. I was wrong on Sunday. I watched that guy in Lambeau do what he does best, and that's just throw unbelievable passes through tight windows, precision, all down the field. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's as hot as it gets right now. I think the Packers are going to roll in Dallas this Sunday.
I think you have to take a look at Jordy Nelson is probably not going to play in that game. Aaron Rodgers, when Jordy Nelson was hurt this year, did not play well. Randall Cobb is a good receiver in the NFL, and he can make good plays, but he is no number 1 receiver.
That's true, but if you look at this Giants game on Sunday, this past Sunday, the Packers with Rodgers, with Nelson on the field, they couldn't move the ball. When he left is when they started moving the ball in the second half. Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, who's finding ways to get different guys to football, and that's why he's so dynamic, because when Rodgers is throwing the ball as tightly and as accurately as he has been doing these last few weeks, it doesn't matter who's on the receiving end, in my opinion. All right, now my team, the New England Patriots, are going to be hosting the Houston Texans in Foxborough. Scotty, the Patriots open as a 16.5-point favorite. Is that ridiculous or what?
I think it's pretty accurate, although I feel bad for the Texans. Bill O'Brien, who is one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, what he did for Penn State, and now for the Texans, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think this game could be closer than what it represents. I think Brock Osweiler needs time to adjust to the Texans system, and he could still be a productive quarterback. But against a Patriots team that's been unstoppable this year, this Patriots defense is going to eat up Brock Osweiler, and they're just not going to be able to run the ball or pass the ball. Defense will have, as it's been for the Texans all year, will have to be the point if they want to keep this game close.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to both defenses, more so Houston, because if you look the last few years, whether it be losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl, losing to in Denver in the AFC Championship game both last year and in 2013, the reason why they lost those games was because Tom Brady did not have time to throw the football. They got pass rushers, Von Miller for the Broncos, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck for the Giants in those Super Bowl losses. Houston has two pretty prolific pass rushers. I think Jadeveon Clowney is as good as it comes this year. He's really proven himself. And Whitney Mercilus is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's a great pass rusher. If somehow Houston can pull off this upset, it's going to start with those two names getting in the pocket after Brady. But that being said, Brady in the playoffs, he's probably the best quarterback of all time. I think hands down the best quarterback of all time. His numbers in the playoffs are uncanny. He holds almost every major record in both the playoffs and the Super Bowl in his house, in Foxborough. It's going to be such a tough team to beat with several weapons. Now, obviously, everybody knows Julian Edelman. You add in Chris Hogan, who can run through coverage. You add in Malcolm Mitchell, a rookie with great speed and great hands. Martellus Bennett is the replacement for the injured Rob Gronkowski. And they've got three guys in the backfield, Dion Lewis, James White, and LeGarrette Blount, who all do different things effectively back there. And now you add in Michael Floyd, who they picked up off Arizona, has played really well in Miami this past week, or 2 weeks ago. So I just don't even pay attention to the Patriots defense. I just don't think Houston has enough firepower to stop the New England firepower. All right, so now we're going to move on to Atlanta versus Seattle. Seattle beat Detroit in their home building, obviously led by Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. For Russell Wilson's age, very experienced in the playoffs. Take me through that game, Scotty.
So I'm very high on Matt Ryan this year. I think he's hands down the MVP of the season. And I'm going to take the Falcons in this one. The Seahawks offense, although it's improved, is not the offense that everyone expected. Russell Wilson, I think, is a great quarterback in the NFL, but I'm not sure if he's top 5. And this Falcons defense, how they came back from the Desmond Trufant injury, probably their best defensive player, is remarkable. This offense was operating without Julio Jones, and with 100% Julio Jones, I don't think this offense can be stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to take Seattle just because I look at Seattle as a really good football team, led by with good coaching, great quarterback, and a great receiver in Doug Baldwin, a guy who you and I don't really talk about or really doesn't get the respect he deserves. They're going to be able to find a running game with Thomas Rawls, who's been healthy recently. C.J. Prosise is practicing. I don't believe he's going to play. Jimmy Graham's a big target. He got a little beat up in the Lions game. The thing for Seattle, why I'm hesitant, heading into this year and around Week 10 of the NFL season, I had Seattle going to the Super Bowl. I'm a little hesitant to take them now because they have not bounced back from the injury of Earl Thomas, who is probably the best safety in the National Football League. That being said, they still have great players on defense and great depth. Obviously, Michael Bennett, I think, is the best defensive tackle in football. Bobby Wagner is one of the best linebackers. Richard Sherman, probably the best cornerback. And Cam Chancellor, although he's no Earl Thomas, is probably the third or fourth best safety in the NFL. So they have a lot of different ways that they can beat you on defense. But with this prolific Atlanta offense, it's going to be their biggest test yet. And I think if they get past Atlanta this Sunday, I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. If not, I'm taking the winner of this game to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. Now it's time for your boys, Scotty. Pittsburgh beat Miami on their field on Sunday. They're going to take a trip up down to Arrowhead. Tough place to play against a pretty good football team, the 12-4 Kansas City Chiefs. Who are you taking and why? Absolutely.
I'm going to take the Steelers in this one, but I'm a little scared of Andy Reid, an experienced playoff coach. Mike Tomlin has trouble with calls in the playoffs recently, and we've seen it over time. Andy Reid could really be a factor if he can manage this team well. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have Marcus Peters, they have some good secondary players, but I'm not sure if they can cover Antonio Brown, Darius Hayward-Bay, Jesse James. Well, Darius Green will probably be back. But what scares me the most is this defensive line for Kansas City, Tamba Ali, and they could provide a stop for Le'Veon Bell. And although I'm afraid of this game, I think the Steelers will come out, but the X factor will be special teams. We say it all the time about special teams, Tyreek Hill is a playmaker, and I think he could be the X factor of this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Kansas City, and here's why. I think Roethlisberger, as good a quarterback as he's been over the course of his career, I think he's on his way to Canton. 2 Super Bowl rings. He's going to be a great player for a long time, going to be remembered for a while. The 2 pass rushers, you talked about Tom Ali. Justin Houston's going to be active on Sunday, who is probably one of the top 5 pass rushers in this league to this point. He can change the game, turn it over. And you brought up Tyreek Hill. All it takes for this guy is one play. He needs space on one play, and with his speed, he's gone. Could be a screen pass, could be a handoff, could be a punt return. One play, and he can turn a game around. Travis Kelce, I think with Gronk out, is one of the most dominant tight ends in the NFL. The only thing I'm worried about with the Kansas City Chiefs is Alex Smith, because they have what it takes on defense. The pass rushers, the playmakers in the secondary, Marcus Peters and Eric Berry. I've never been sold on Alex Smith, and I'm still not sold on him. I don't know that I can trust a guy in Alex Smith. I don't know if I can trust him to win a playoff game against a team as good as the Steelers and as hot as the Steelers right now. But at the same time, I talked about how good Ben Roethlisberger's been over the course of his career. Has not been very good on the road as of late, and we know how tough Arrowhead. It's very tough to play there. So I'm going to take Kansas City in a close one, and hopefully they come down to Foxborough for my sake as a fan, and that should be a very good AFC Championship game. All right, so hopefully we'll be back next week to talk about the conference championships. No promises yet, but for now, we appreciate you watching. Once again, this has been Matt Schlegel and Scotty Luntz for NCTV.